Hi, everybody. This is Lee from Fresh Astrology, and today I want to talk about um, like deep passion, things we deeply want to do or love to do or think we would love to do, but maybe we don't do them as much as we would like to, or maybe we just never get around to do it, or maybe we think we can't do something that we otherwise feel passionate about. Why is that? What happens? So this topic always makes me think of my son. He's my oldest child. And when he was two, around breakfast time, he was just always up early. He's one of those kids who was just up, eyes wide open in the morning. And so while I was getting breakfast ready, I would want to keep him busy because he, is an active kid. And so I would sit him at the table with a bunch of watercolors and paints. And he would, paint, quietly while I got his breakfast ready. And then it got to the point where he would come downstairs and he would say, I need to paint. I need to paint. I must paint. He was just like ready to get to the table and paint. He wasn't even thinking about food. And he loved that time at the table before breakfast and was really happy with. I don't even know if he was looking at the product of what he was doing. He loved the painting itself. He loved the action of painting. And then, because he was two-ish, maybe two and a half, we then took him to preschool. And he started preschool. And during that time for kids, often the girls will have finer muscle control in their fingers. Their dexterity using pens and pencils and paintbrushes is a little more developed just because of development, the course of normal development. And little boys typically can, throw a little bit better, sorry, but they have like their larger muscle groups are developing differently. And so he got to, he didn't have any other frame of reference until he got to preschool and he saw all the paintings that the girls did. And, I would walk in and look at these paintings and think, oh, they're such cute preschool paintings. There was nothing really magnificent, about them, except they were, I love all child art, regardless of whose it is. But he looked at it and he must have started to compare himself to, and it's just crushing to me that a 2.5-year-old, maybe by the time he got into preschool, he was 3, but a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 90-year-old, it's crushing to me that anybody would compare themselves, over something they love to do, something that gives them joy. But a 3-year-old, I couldn't believe it that after he started going to preschool, we'd get up and I would start fixing his breakfast. I'd put his paints on the table and he would just sit there and he would like push it away. And I'm like, why aren't you painting? You love to paint. And he was just like, no, I hate it. I don't want to paint. And he was like mad at the paint, mad at my suggestions. And it was just all bad. And I realized that it had to do with, seeing what other people were doing. And, I tried talking, of course, this is a 3-year-old. It's hard to figure out the right way to talk to them about it. I probably had my foot stuck in my mouth, big time, but I'm like, are you noticing that the girl, I think I really botched it because he was like, no, and ran out of the room. So I didn't help at all. But I did know what happened, and it was crushing to see it, and I couldn't change. I didn't have the wherewithal to change what had happened to him by comparing himself. And I noticed with this kid, my son, that he did this a lot. It was something he really did a lot. And, like I never walked and said, look at all the girls. Their paintings are so much better than yours. Nobody did that. Nobody did that I know of. I mean, certainly not his parents. So it was just amazing, that night and day turnaround. And so he stopped doing something he absolutely loved to do from a very young age. And all through grade school and high school, he was like, I'm not creative. I'm not artistic. But like during that time, sometimes he would just couldn't help himself. He would get a little pen and some paper, and he would do like these teeny weeny little cartoons that were so advanced. They were stick figures, but they were so expressive, and he created whole scenes. Like he had like the Trojan War on this little teeny piece of paper. He had like a scene from the Trojan War because he had learned about it at school, and he had like these kind of cool comments coming out of the people's mouths that were very advanced. And so when his dad and I found that, we were like, "Oh my God, this is so amazing! You did this!" And he would just like run and hide. And he would like didn't want to admit he had done it, didn't want, I mean, he wasn't proud of it at all. Like we couldn't convince him that he was amazingly creative. And sometimes he would have like these little cartoons he would like do because he just couldn't help himself creating. And now he's in his 20s, and I try to talk to him about the fact that he actually is creative, and he's a little more receptive now, but still, that was some big damage. And the reason I tell this story is this is all of us. We can take stories from each person and kind of blow it up larger, and this is the human condition. This is you, this is me, this is all of us. We all had moments in our lives, unfortunately probably more than one, early, the stuff that we don't remember, because if I hadn't been noticing that so clearly and talking about it and kind of concerned about it, and then telling him about it, he never would have known. Like if I didn't report back to him as an older child and adult that had happened, he would have no idea why he didn't feel creative. He would have no idea why he shied away from painting and drawing and any kind of creative expression. He would just think, I don't do that. I can't. And deep within his memory banks, way back, there was this moment in time when something happened that turned him away from something that he was really passionate about. This is all of us. This is all of us. So if you ever, how do we recapture that? How do we get back to that? First, I would say to all of you, there's probably nothing in this world you couldn't accomplish somehow. We get these ideas early in life before we even understand that they're forming and creating kind of a prison in our brain about what we think we can and can't do. And we're very unaware, it's very subconscious, unconscious to us that this is occurring, and we limit ourselves. So I would just say to you, if you ever dream about doing something, and sometimes we know we could do something if we tried, but it's like we never quite do it. We always kind of, or maybe we start and we don't finish, and something's pulling us back. And I bet it's something that happened that we don't remember. And it may have been a small moment. Like, I don't think I don't think it was like the movies where my son walked into preschool and the whole class was like, ha 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 ha, like laughing at his painting. I don't think that was happening. I think it was really subtle in his own mind. He just started to compare. And I think this is probably what stunts a lot of us is we compare. So notice over today and the next week and the next month, if you can remember to try to catch yourself comparing, because it happens in the blink of an eye, in a fraction of a blink of an eye. We take in data and we start to compare. Every time we assess someone who walks by us, who has a certain body type or maybe a certain socioeconomic status, like maybe they seem like they're more well off. Every time, they pull up in a car that we think is better than, little subtle things that we don't know we're doing this constant comparison. We're doing it all the time. Try to start to notice. So the pathway to turning this ship around is to begin to notice that maybe this is true and that maybe we have this habit of comparing ourselves. So first, just try to notice that you do this. And what that does is it creates awareness, and it begins to create a little space between you and the stuff you think and the way your thoughts work. It just creates a little bit of space between you and your thoughts. So you can begin to understand that you are not your thoughts. You are not, like, you don't equal your thoughts. And your thoughts, unfortunately, can begin to equal you. they can begin to drive you like they're in charge. But you don't equal your thoughts. You can separate yourself from your thoughts if you just begin to develop this awareness like a weak muscle that you want to strengthen over time. Notice how you compare yourself. That's your homework. All right. And again, I'll just end with I am willing to bet that there is nothing you can't accomplish if you set your mind to it and had confidence you could do it. All right. Take care.